The film will focus on the life of a 30-year-old woman named Daphne. Her story begins when she has just lost the love she had shared for 4 years. In the dimly lit room, Daphne reminisces about the beautiful moments she had with Adrian, her ex-boyfriend. Her life feels truly shattered, as if the world around her has collapsed. Although losing Adrian left a deep wound in her heart, Daphne realizes that she has to move on with her life. She tries to keep herself busy by working in various places, just to find some comfort that can distract her thoughts. However, her sadness becomes even stronger as Christmas approaches. The days she used to celebrate with Adrian must now be spent alone. Daphne decides to visit her mother's house and share her breakup with Adrian. As a loving mother, her mom tries to cheer her up, hoping that Daphne can soon forget Adrian and find new love. A few days later, at a New Year's Eve party, Daphne meets a man named Frank. Although Frank has a slightly flamboyant personality, his handsome face manages to impress Daphne, making her feel a spark in her heart. After Frank leaves, Daphne is approached by an old friend named Jack. Jack is a writer with a good sense of humor and a warm personality, giving Daphne a special sense of comfort when she's around him. Meeting these two men opens a new chapter in Daphne's life, leading her to a path full of choices and possibilities. After New Year's Eve, Daphne returns to the city and decides to stay at her sister Billy's house, who is already married. Even though she's surrounded by family, Daphne's sadness still haunts her due to the loss of Adrian. Amidst her sorrow, Daphne suddenly receives a message from Frank, short texts that occasionally bring a smile to her face. The same goes for Jack. While working part-time at a clothing store, Daphne accidentally meets Jack, who happens to be shopping at the store where she works. Daphne's days are now filled with her closeness to these two men, bringing color back to her life. Once again, a smile brightens her face. One night, Frank invited Daphne to meet at a bar. There, Frank revealed that Jack was actually the friend who had invited him to the New Year's Eve party that night. Hearing this, Daphne was surprised as she didn't know they were close friends. Daphne apologized and expressed that she didn't want to ruin their friendship. However, Frank assured her that it wasn't an issue and that he would explain the situation to Jack. That night, their gazes changed, filled with an undeniable excitement. Frank then took Daphne to his apartment, and without many words, they engaged in a thrilling game. Afterward, Frank asked if Daphne would tell Jack about what happened that night, knowing they would meet the next day. Daphne firmly replied that she would not tell Jack about it. The next day, Daphne met Jack at his apartment. They talked about their past while enjoying some drinks, and the meeting ended on a happy note. After that day, Daphne often spent time at Jack's apartment, playing and joking around like a couple. However, Daphne still occasionally received messages from Frank. It seemed that Daphne was beginning to like both friends. Daphne often told Frank that even though she was staying with Jack, it didn't mean they were a couple. When she was with Jack, Daphne felt a deep sense of peace and comfort. She felt safe, as if she were in a long-term relationship. On the other hand, when she was with Frank, Daphne experienced a sense of excitement and fiery passion. With Frank, Daphne seemed to be brought into a new world full of first-time experiences in a relationship. Although they were both very different, Daphne felt uniquely happy with both of them. A few days later, Jack and Daphne attended a party. However, in the midst of the crowd, they accidentally ran into Frank. In front of Jack, Daphne tried her best to hide her feelings for Frank so they wouldn't be noticed. Frank, on the other hand, appeared with another woman by his side. A few days after that meeting, Jack revealed that he would be going out of town for a few weeks. Daphne would stay at his apartment to take care of their pets. Knowing that his friend would be away, Frank started sending flirtatious messages to Daphne. Daphne, feeling that her relationship with Jack lacked clarity, welcomed Frank with open arms when he came to the apartment. Like a couple separated by distance, they spent the day together, releasing the long-held longing they had for each other. Not long after, Frank invited Daphne on a spontaneous trip out of town. With great enthusiasm, Daphne agreed to go with him. They spent their days together, trying to fill the void left by Adrian. However, in her mind, Daphne still often thought about Adrian. But there was a moment when Daphne saw Frank acting out of line at a club, which disappointed her. Even so, Daphne eventually succumbed to Frank's charm and skillful way with words. As a result of her irregular relationships with both friends, Daphne found herself pregnant, but she didn't know for sure who the father of her child was. Daphne decided to go to the doctor to check the age of her pregnancy. However, due to the close timing of her relationships with Jack and Frank, Daphne couldn't determine who the father was. This left her feeling resigned, and Daphne decided to tell Jack everything. At first, Jack was very happy to hear about Daphne's pregnancy, as he believed that the baby was his. However, Daphne didn't want to keep the truth hidden any longer. She revealed her romantic involvement with Frank that had happened behind Jack's back. This confession deeply disappointed Jack, as he never imagined that the person he loved would do something like that. Daphne emphasized that she didn't expect Jack to marry her, as she was fully aware of the mistake she had made. A few days passed, and Daphne tried to reach out to Frank. However, her attempts to communicate seemed futile as Frank appeared to be avoiding her and distancing himself from her. A few months later, Daphne's belly grew bigger, showing clear signs of her pregnancy. One day, by chance, Daphne ran into Frank at a grocery store. The encounter worsened the situation when Frank introduced his new girlfriend to Daphne, making her feel like the sky was crashing down on her. Later, on a different day, Frank asked Daphne to meet so that everything could be explained. During that meeting, Daphne reiterated that she didn't expect Frank to marry her, as she also acknowledged the mistakes she had made. Furthermore, seeing Frank's tendency to frequently change partners made her even more certain of her decision. A few days after that meeting, for some reason, Daphne decided to visit Adrian's house to inform him of her pregnancy. However, when she arrived, Daphne only met Adrian's mother, who told her that Adrian was out of the country. After hearing the news, Daphne returned to her parents' house and told her mother everything that had happened. Although there was some tension between them, her mother tried to understand what her daughter had been through. After receiving her mother's support, Daphne decided to raise her child on her own. Even though the journey ahead would be full of challenges, Daphne was determined to give her best for the child. Now, Daphne's mission is to face the future with strong determination and courage, without being shackled by the past that put her in this situation. Daphne hopes that a similar situation will never happen again. And that's the end of our movie today. Because of heartbreak and seeking comfort in the wrong places, Daphne fell into a situation that became increasingly difficult. So, take good care of your partner to avoid unwanted situations. See you in the next video.